DDP and Bilal Muhammad seem to have a never-ending feud, and when JDM beat Bilal Muhammad, DDP was right there ready, lined up to tweet and troll Bilal Muhammad. And maybe that's one of the reasons why DDP is just so successful. He's so hyper-competitive and petty. He's all set to go. If anybody says anything about him, whether it's Bilal, Steve Erceg, or anybody, the second you fall, he is ready right there to pounce.
Bilal loses, and you write essentially like, great job, well done, JK. Like seconds after he loses. This is menace type stuff.
I was watching the fight to see him lose. That was literally I think he's an absolute asshole. So I was really happy to see that. So that's why I made the tweet. That tweet was ready before the fight started. I had that tweet ready. It was basically
you knew.
Just copy both go boom.
You had no doubt he was going to lose.
Well, call it hope, call it doubt. No doubt, it was one of those two.
Those two may run into each other, Bilal Muhammad and DDP, because next week DDP is fighting in Chicago against Khamzat Chimaev, and Bilal lives in Chicago.
Also, heard Dricus in Chicago. Bro, this is my city. Big card next week. Huge main event. You need anything from Chicago? Food, groceries, therapist, cage, gym, sauna. Make sure you don't hit me up. You're not welcome here. Chicago, you see him, you let him know. You don't like his kind. Go Hamza.
The press conference for UFC 319 will take place next Thursday at the Radius Theater, 5 p.m. local time. It should be really interesting. Will DDP make Khamzat Chimaev cry? Maybe. He does that to everybody. I don't know if he will or not, but he will irritate the shit out of him, which isn't too hard. It doesn't take much to set Khamzat Chimaev off. Will that impact the way he fights? Absolutely not. Regardless of his mental state, he just comes out and fights like a maniac every single time. And DDP fights the same way every single time too, just an unorthodox berserker who just keeps winning fight after fight after fight in the UFC. DDP's never lost in the UFC. Khamzat's never lost in his career. I mean, this is just a great fight. Two very different styles of fighting, but both extremely effective and have worked perfectly in the UFC so far. Until next weekend when one of them gotta lose. Unless it's a no contest or a draw. A draw is, I don't know, maybe a possibility. Like Khamzat is so dominant in round one. I could see him like getting a 10-8 round in like any fight and maybe taking the second round and then maybe losing the last three. Like that's a possibility, but yeah, one of them is probably losing. The backup fighter for UFC 319 is Caio Borralho, who's actually scheduled to fight Imavov 3 weeks later in Paris. Imavov could have been the backup, but he declined. He has sensitivity to jet lag, he says. Ideally, everything goes smoothly. DDP versus Khamzat takes place, and then 3 weeks later, Imavov versus Borralho takes place. The winner of that takes on the winner, DDP versus Khamzat. And also lurking in the shadows is Rainier de Ritter. After his victory recently over Robert Whittaker, he has inserted himself in title contention. Khamzat, though, has a lot of respect for DDP, partially because Khamzat says not everyone's saying his name. Not a lot of guys would be running away from me, so he respects DDP for taking this fight. But not only take this fight, this is the fight that DDP asked for. He wanted to fight Khamzat because the respect goes the other way as well. He puts Khamzat in really high regard. He wants to fight him. He wants to be known as the greatest middleweight ever, so he is directly going towards the toughest guys in the division. So while it's absolute war in the cage between these two guys, it's nothing but respect outside of it. Official poster for Noche UFC, September 13th, Frost Bank Center in San Antonio, Texas. It's a featherweight contest between Diego Lopez and Jean Silva, an opportunity for Jean Silva to break close to title contention if he can get the victory. UFC is trying to build some new contenders at 145, giving Jean Silva this opportunity, giving Pico an opportunity to fight Lerone Murphy. And aside from that, the only fresh challenger for the belt would be Movsar Evloev, and I don't know what they're going to do with him. Co-main event of this card is Lemos versus Suarez. Overall, the card isn't that great in terms of star power, kind of like an Apex level card. The fights will probably deliver, but there isn't high-ranked fighters or big names on the card. Charles Oliveira taking on Rafael Fiziev October 11th, headlining UFC Fight Night Rio. It was actually Charles who asked to fight on this card, so he thanks the UFC for fulfilling that request. Some people think it's too soon for Oliveira to come back. He was recently knocked out by Topuria. Some feel he should take more time to recover, especially how brutal that KO was. There's concern jumping back in with someone as explosive as Fiziev. could be risky. Some see it as warrior mentality, others think it's a bad career move. Either way, the general vibe is the timing feels rushed, but not for Oliveira. He wants to get the bad taste out of that loss out of his mouth, but you know, there's also the risk that you get knocked out again. It follows the same timeline of how Volkanovski got knocked out by Islam Makhachev, then came back 4 months later and got knocked out by Ilia Topuria. It doesn't mean that that will happen, but it is a 4-month span like Volkanovski. On the other hand, you can look at a guy like Justin Gaethje, who was knocked out horribly by Max Holloway. Then he came back to fight Fiziev, like Oliveira's fighting Fiziev, and he beat Fiziev by unanimous decision. However, he came back after 10 months, whereas Charles Oliveira is coming back to fight after 3.5 months after getting knocked out badly. I guess Oliveira fans would prefer he comes back after 10 months to fight Fiziev, but this is the timeline he has for himself, 3.5 months after getting KO'd by Topuria. UFC seems to want to do Sarukian versus Topuria. Sarukian thinks he's like 70% sure that he'll get that fight. If it doesn't go to Sarukian, goes to Paddy, Kamaru Usman thinks that's spitting in the face of the rest of the division.
It's not Paddy's fault. Paddy has done a great... It's not Paddy's fault. Paddy has done a great job with the opposition he's been given to even put himself in this conversation. Paddy's done a phenomenal job. But if we're looking at the lightweight rankings, we've got Ilia Topuria. And I'm assuming next you've got Arman Tsarukyan. It makes sense. If you're not going to do a Justin Gaethje, I don't know why Islam is still there, but if you're not going to do a Arman Tsarukyan, or you're not going to do a Justin Gaethje, then, you know, like, yes, you've got Dan Hooker there. You've got Mateus Gamrot. You've got all these Beneil Dariush there in front of Paddy Pimblett. So to skip all of these guys to just give him a title shot, that kind of spits in the face of the merit of the best fights the next best guy. To be honest, if it's not going to be that, I think it needs to be, because if it was Justin Gaethje, you would have made the fight already. Yeah. But the fact that you haven't made that fight already tells me that you want Justin Gaethje to maybe have another fight. So if that's the case, then it's got to be Arman Tsarukyan.
Whoever these fucking UFC fighters want to come over to boxing, thank you, Scott. Or any of these MMA lot want to come over to boxing, if you fancy something, you can come and get it. Nasty. Bare knuckle. Anyone wants to come over from the UFC? I see a lot of people taking me in that Ili, Itura, Lilia. I've got these hands, brother. Disrespect us boxers. See how you're all getting it. Listen, I ain't stupid enough to go in the cage. I would never go in the cage. You won't catch me dead in the cage. Do you know why? Because I don't get my ass handed to me. But for them thinking they can come over and do that to us, that's a fucking liberty. It's a fucking liberty.